Okay, good morning and welcome to a new Masechta, Maseches Kesubos. We are learning the second Masechta in Seder Nashim. For all those who finished Yivamos, you should give yourself a pat on the back because it was a very difficult Masechta. This Masechta deals primarily with the marriage contract between a man and a woman when they get married, a Jewish marriage contract, all the things the man obligates himself to the woman, and all the things that the woman also obligates herself to the man because the man gives her certain things, promises her certain things. We're going to learn more about those details throughout the Masechta. There are some tangential topics that we're going to learn also. This Masechta pretty much sticks to the theme. There are other things talked about, but most of the Masechta does talk about the Kesuva, the particulars of it, and of course there's other fun topics. There's famous Perak Nara Murasa, which talks about if you're Ma'anes, a woman who's, she's a Nara, she's 12 years old, and she has betrothed, she's engaged to somebody else. I want to let everybody know that in addition to this regular Daf Yomi shit, which I call just Daf it, you just do it, just keep on doing it, Daf it with me. It's fun, it's enjoyable. And usually in a half an hour or less, I get a Daf Yomi. I also give an 8 to 10 minute shiur on every Daf, so you're not going to want to miss that. And like I wrote in my post last night, most people give it a Daf Yomi shiur in 45 minutes to an hour. So if you want, usually when you want to get a bargain, you'll take 2 for 1. Here you get 4 for 1, right? And in 45 minutes to an hour, you get a Daf Yomi shiur. You get an on the Daf Yomi shiur, an original Chiddush, I'm going to say, in 8 to 10 minutes. Plus, you can stick around for Mishnah Yomi, where I also give a shiur in that, about 5 minutes, and an on the Mishnah Yomi, which I give also for 5 minutes. And if you want more, there is more. You can stay tuned for Shulchan Aruch Yomi, which I also give on a siman every day. We're starting on Sunday. We're starting siman Mem Vav 46 Berachos HaShachar. We do that shiur 5 times a week, including an shiur on that day's siman. And then 2 Hashkafa shiurim a week. We're doing the Sefer Real Me, and the one on Thursday and Friday is tied into the Parsha. So in a total of 40 shiurim, it's pretty good. It's called Yeshiva's YouTube. I'm the founder of Yeshiva's YouTube, the first virtual yeshiva in the world, only available on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube. So let's get started. Maseches Kesubos, Psula Nisa is Yom HaRavi. Psula, she gets married on Yom HaRavi. This is on Wednesday. Almana Liyom HaChamishi, and Almana will get married on Thursday. Now we're talking about Wednesday night and Thursday night. A virgin will get married. According to the times of the Gemara, we'll see that this no longer applies because we could have Bati Dinim apply. We have courts that adjudicate cases every day of the week. It's only in a certain time in history where the courts only convened on Mondays and Thursdays. And Almana, if she was previously married and she's getting remarried, she gets married preferably on Yom HaChamishi, on Thursday night. Twice a week, Beis Din will convene in the major cities. Yom HaSheni, Yom HaChamishi, on Monday and Thursday. The reason she gets married on Wednesday night is because we're concerned if she's a virgin, right? So when you marry a virgin, you promise her double the amount you promise to a ba'ula, someone who's not a virgin. Ksuva of Masayim, Zuz, 200 Zuz. There's different ways of figuring out how much that is nowadays. It comes out somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 you owe the woman. Masayim Zuz, they based on what the currency of silver coins were back then. It means 200 of some unit. You could say it's $200, but that would be on the cheaper side. But or 200 or whatever currency you're using. But that's not the way the poskim understand it. They understand it to be 200 zuz back then converted into now, which is between $3,000 and $10,000 you owe the woman or a virgin. And if you go the first night you're together with your wife, your new wife, and you find out you're together with her and there's no blood, normally when you first together with the woman, you're going to see blood on the thing you clean with, because it represents the hymen, which a psula has, a virgin has, that ruptured, and it normally causes blood. If you don't see blood, so you can claim that maybe she's not a psula, and either I don't want to get married to her, or I owe her less money if the marriage dissolves and I have to either divorce her, or I die and have to give her ksuva. So that's why they don't want to give people time to cool off, because normally you're going to come to Beis Din when you're very hot, and so the next morning you're able to come to Beis Din on Thursday morning and make your claim. Where it says Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Amar B'sula Nisas Amar Ravi. Why is a psula get married on Wednesday night? Lefi Shaninu Hagiyaz Amar Nisu Ochel B'Shlava Ochel B'Shrum. We have a Mishnah later on in Daf Nun Zayin that says normally when you decide you want to get married, you're ma'aris a woman, right? You become engaged to a woman. You give the woman, you have to notify her 30 days before you want to get married. If you're an almana, and for a psula, you have to give her 12 months in advance notice. She can get prepared, get a nice wedding dress, get some nice perfumes. So you give her 12 months. Let's say the time came and for whatever reason they didn't get married. She already is entitled to mizonos. Mizonos is one of the stipulations in the Kesubos that a man is obligated to feed his wife, to give her nourishment, to give her food. Midaraisa, it only kicks in after you get married. So this time comes and they didn't get married, so therefore he's chayav to feed her, even though they're not technically married yet. And he also, if he's a Kohen marrying an Israelis, she could also eat truma, right? Even though midaraisa, we learn in Masechtas Yevamos, the arusa bas Yisrael, once they are engaged, the arusa gets to eat truma midaraisa. But they're masakim midarabbanan that she shouldn't eat because she's still in her father's house. She's going to give to her brothers and sisters who Israelim eating truma, and that's misa b'dei shamayim. So therefore she was allowed to eat. She could eat, and then if they're supposed to get married and something happens, she could start eating truma at that point. They didn't make the gzera d'rabbanan. You might think that if the time came, 12 months, let's say Rav Psula came and landed on a Sunday, and they couldn't get married, he has to give her food then. That's why our Mishnah comes and says she gets married on a Wednesday, and therefore he's not responsible until Wednesday. Rav Yosef, Marida Avram, Rav Yosef was astounded by this. He says, the master of Avram, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, made a shvuah to Hashem. Tali Tanya b'lo Tanya. You're making one Mishnah dependent on something which is not a Mishnah. The Gemara asks immediately, Hi Tanya, Hi Lo Tanya, Hi Tanya, Hi Tanya. They're both Mishnayos. This is a Mishnah now, and there's a Mishnah later on, Nun Zayin. Now, Tali Tanya with the Mefarish time, with Tanya the Mefarish time. It doesn't make sense. You're making one Mishnah dependent on the wrong Mishnah, right? Here, the Mishnah tells you a reason. The reason she gets married on Wednesday. It's not because of the other, it's not dependent on the reason of, not the time for marriage comes and one of the people doesn't want to get married, you have to give her food. Here it says explicitly the reason, because the time is Pesulim. He wants to come to Beis Din. He wants to, come and tell Beis Din that she's not a Psula, she's not a virgin. That's explicit reason. So why are you depending that? Why are you depending our Mishnah on that Mishnah? It's the opposite. If you want to say the statement of Shmuel, this is what he meant to say. Shmuel, why in our Mishnah she gets married on Wednesday? Like it says in our Mishnah. So after reading our Mishnah, you can ask, let her get married on Sunday night, because Monday they also convene. So the answer to that, we're going to have a brisa on Daf Gimel and Beis that Chazal were very diligent. They made sure that women weren't treated inferior. They wouldn't be inferior to men, and they would get proper respect. You should spend time, at least 3 days, preparing a proper wedding feast. Right? Normally, if you prepare food before Shabbos, so it's going to go bad on Shabbos, you have to refrigerate on Shabbos, you want to have a fresh meal. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, he prepares the meal. He hires a caterer, or cooks the food himself, a real husband. Women love a man who really knows how to cook. If you didn't know that, women really appreciate if their husband can cook a meal for them. It really makes them feel special. So if your husband out there is not in the Kesuva, it doesn't say you have to cook for your wife. Actually, the Gemara says that the woman's supposed to cook for the man. It's a Mishnah later on. But if you want to really make your wife happy, cook for her sometimes. Make some food for her. I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. So he wants to prepare the meal. He's actually cooking himself, maybe. So he's going to prepare it, and it normally takes at least 3 days to make a huge meal for 500 people, all the guests you want to invite. The Gemara says, Ravi Konsa, and on Wednesday he'll marry her. Ba'achshav sheni l'shaktu, o sheni l'higiyaz man l'nisu, ochel b'shal, ochel b'shuma, higiyaz man be'echa b'shabes, b'ntok sheni yachal lichnos, and amal amazonos. So therefore, so we know he has to get married either Sunday or Wednesday night, but he can't get married on Sunday night because he has to prepare the meal. So he has to only get married on Wednesday night. So now we know he has to get married on Wednesday night. So now let's apply the Mishnah on Daf and Zion. We learned, right, that if you have 12 months for a virgin or 30 days for an almana to get married, to set a date, and that time comes and you don't get married for some reason, automatically she gets to eat from him and she gets to eat truma. So therefore, based on our Mishnah, since the day has to be on Wednesday, like our Mishnah says, so therefore it's an onus, it's not his fault that he can't get married on Sunday, he has to wait till Wednesday. So therefore, until Wednesday, he's not responsible to feed her. Lefichach, the Gemara draws a conclusion. A different onus happens, a different something out of your control happens. He got sick, right? The 12 months came and he got sick, or she got sick, or Shapir Sanida, she became menstruant, and then you're not supposed to get married when a woman is a nida. When a woman is a nida, she's menstruating. So there's even an opinion over that chuppah's nida is not considered a chuppah. Maybe it's not even considered a valid. The Ran says maybe it's not even considered a valid marriage, what you're doing with a nida. We don't hold like that. But for technical reasons, you don't want to get married when she's a nida because you can't have bia the first night. You're supposed to have bia the first night. We're going to see if she's a nida the first night, you have to wait. And there's a problem with yichud. You can't even be seclude yourself with the wife. You have to sleep. She sleeps with the woman. He sleeps with the men. We'll see in the Abdalid. So you don't avoid that. So you're not going to get married when she's menstruating. So therefore, one of these things happen based on the Mishnah on Daf and Zion. He's an onus, like we just learned. So therefore, he doesn't have to feed her. Some say it's not so pasha. It's a question. Let's say he got sick, right? 12 months come, he got sick. Right, the reason here in our Mishnah, he's honest, he has to get married on Wednesday. Chazal said you have to get married on Wednesday, but here, he's honest. He got sick. It's not his fault. And there, it's Dakan Rabbanan, right? So there he has to listen to Rabbanan. Here, it's his own fault. I mean, it's his own body, right? So therefore, maybe he doesn't get to make a taina and say it's an honest because Chazal didn't force him. It's your own fault, your own body. And if you want to decide, no, that it's not considered a valid excuse if he got sick, he has to feed her. What's if she got sick? On one hand, you can say to her, hey, I'm ready to get married, it's your fault. Or she can tie it to him, she can say, no, I'm your field, once you did Mikudeshes, you betrothed me, you got engaged to me, so I'm like you're partially owned by you, and I'm like your fields. A man partially owns his wife in a certain respect. We'll learn that more about that in Seder Nashim, to what extent the man owns his wife. It's like your field, and you own the field. If it rained in your field and ruined the crops, that's your fault. You're the owner. If she really has a valid claim, and he has to feed her, let's say she began to menstruate when the marriage was supposed to happen. If it was a normal time, she gets her period, right? That's obvious. Top of base, she can't say it's your field because this normally happens. It's a normal cycle to have her period at that point. She can't blame it on him. Unless she has a period, but she doesn't normally get a period. I came on the she can say, no, it's your field. You got ruined. Not everyone has a period the exact same day every month. Kishas Vesta Dami, it's always considered to be like the time she gets her period, so it's the woman's fault, and she wouldn't be entitled to get food until they actually got married. Pashit Rav Achai answered, was a question, these similar things. He tries to bring a proof, right? The Mishnah says in Daf Zion, the time came below Nisu. Nisu doesn't say Nisu, the men, and Nisu, the Yud, is the woman, below Nisu. Right? They didn't get married. So it says lo nisu lo kazan. It doesn't say about the men. Ela lo nisu hechidami. What is the case? Either kama akban in if they're supposed to get married and there's no onus, there's no something out of their control. She just says, I don't want to get married right now. Of course it's her fault. He doesn't have to give her food. It must be as an onus happens. right? And didn't get married because of her, but it was her onus. Ki hagam, you see, when there's an onus, right? When she gets sick, let's say. So therefore, it's not considered, it's considered he has to feed her. He still has to feed her. Maybe I can tell you, Rashi says, maybe there's a way of saying that whenever there's an onus, she doesn't get to happen, just like our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah says you have to get pushed off to Wednesday. So he got sick, or she got sick, or she was Pirush Hanida, that's an onus, just like our Mishnah, and she doesn't get to eat. The Kama Akvi Ini, how do you interpret our Mishnah? Inu. Kama Akvi Inu. The Mishnah says Lo Nisu. The Yud is Lav Dafka. The Mishnah is really meant to be talking about the man. Right? The man purposely didn't get married. Right? Implying what? That it was an onus, even by the man, even if he got sick, so then he doesn't have to feed her. It should have said without a Yud, talking about the man. The first part of the Mishnah talks about the woman, and was talking about the woman, the subject was the woman. So therefore, because of that, the Tana, the author of the Mishnah, used the same lashon talking about the woman. Really, he meant to mean the man also. And only if the man holds back on purpose, he doesn't hold back. Because any type of onus, this is the halacha, we pass in any type of onus, he doesn't have to feed her. We'll talk more about it, Ben Sion, contrast between this din and the upcoming din. About onus begitin, let's get started. I'm a rabbi, in gitin ain't no kain. Just like we were saying over here, there's a tainus onus when it comes to mizonos over here, right? If there's an onus, there's no tainus onus, right? Because, there's a tainus onus. You can claim it was out of my control. It was out of my control. I don't have to give you mizonos. By Rava says, but Gittin, it's not that way. That if there's an onus over there, you can't claim and say it was an onus, and really, I didn't mean it under certain circumstances. We'll see what this means in a second. What's the case? Where does he know this? These are the cases the Gemara is talking about Gittin, where you make a Tanai. You say, I want to give you a get, right? If I don't come within 12 months, I don't return. He's going overseas. He's going, I don't know, Kiribati. He's going to the Solomon Islands, the Pacific Ocean. He's going somewhere exotic. I don't know. He's going to Grenada in the Caribbean. I don't know where he's going. He plans to come back in 12 months. He says, if I don't come back, it's a get. Let's say it wasn't his fault. I mean, he wanted to come back, but he died in 12 months. What's an afkamin? Obviously, if he dies or there's a get, she's allowed to marry. The afkamin is whether there's a yavam over here, right? If she died, if it's a valid get, so then she's patur from yibum. But if it's not a get, then the cause of her being separated from her husband is the death. So then, if they didn't have children, she falls in front of the yavam, and you have to do yibum or chalitza. So that's the difference over here. The halacha, the Mishnah says in Gittin, it's not considered a get. So the Gemara analyzes Mesu the ain't no get. Specifically, if he dies, it's not a get. If he dies, it's not a get. Hachala hareza get. Specifically says that if he died, it's not a get. But if it was a different type of onus, right? Meis he never really meant because he didn't expect to die. But chala, it's quite often that people get sick, right? He broke some bones. He couldn't come back from Grenada. I don't know. He was playing beach volleyball. I don't know. He broke his clavicle. I don't know. He couldn't come back. So that's, hareza get. There he should have stipulated, and the fact he didn't stipulate. So therefore it's a get. So therefore you see what? See an onus begitin, like Rava says, that even though it was an onus, it was out of control. It's not maki of the get. The get is a valid get. I'm sorry, you see from this Mishnah, so you see it's implied from the Mishnah, like I said, if it was an onus that happens sometimes, so therefore it would be a get. So you see a proof that there is an onus begitin. You can't claim that an onus happened and in mavatal the get. The Gemara says, maybe I'll tell you any onus that happens, right? Even if it's somewhat expected, it's not a get. But he go for kamashplan. The chiddush of the Mishnah has nothing to do with onus. They ain't get lach or misa. The chiddush is that if he died, that the reason it's not a get is because he died, and once you die, you can't give a get, right? He didn't say ma'achshav over here. We're going to learn if you say ma'achshav in your tanai, if I don't come back in 12 months, I want the get to be retroactively chal from now, right? So he didn't say that in this first tanai, so therefore he died. And therefore, like Rashi said, "Ein Mason Magarshim." People who are dead can't give a get. So he's dead, you can't give a get. That's why it's not a good. That's why it's not good for a different reason, nothing to do with onus. Uh, Engel Achamisa. The Gemara says it can't be. Engel Achamisa, Atanale Reisha. We had an earlier Mishnah, Maseches Gittin, which already said this halacha. Areza Gitech Imesi. He says, I'm going to give you a get if I die. Areza Gitech Micholiza. I'm going to give you a get if I die from this sickness. Areza Gitech Achamisa. Or he phrases it a different way. This is the get after my death. Lo Amar Klum. It's considered, he died. It's not considered, the get is invalid. Aina Mason Magarshim Rashi. Rashi says, people that are alive can't give Gittin. The Gemara says, no, really, you need both two Mishnahs to teach me Ein Gel Achar Misa. And the second Mishnah is coming to exclude an opinion of a prominent Tana that seems to say it should be a good get. The Rabbanan allowed her to marry, they said it's a good get. It's the Beis Din, or the Tana, who was the head of the Beis Din, that allowed oil, right? One of the Gzeiros they made in Avodah Zarah is you're not supposed to benefit from the oil of non-Jews. So you shouldn't come to chasnas to marry them. Later they revoked that. They revoked that Gzeira by oil. You're not supposed to eat the bread of Nachrim. You're not supposed to eat the wine of Nachrim. But oil they allowed you to anoint yourself with. Savri Laka Rabbi Yossi. This based in Halak Rabbi Yossi. Damar Zmana Shashar Mochiach Halav. He says, normally, if you write the time of the get, and right when he writes, he says the get, and he writes the time right now, what it is. So therefore, the fact that he wrote the time in, that's already telling me that that the get should be chal right now. The get should be chal right now, and therefore, the chiddush is the second Mishnah in Gittin says that we don't hold like Rabbi Yossi, and therefore the get is not chal now, and Engel Achar Misa, because you wanted the get to be chali after 12 months. You died before 12 months, so you're dead. You can't be Megarish. So the Gemara tries to bring another proof. Elami Seifa, right? The end of that mission, the second mission. Let's say he says it a little differently. He says, if I don't come back in 12 months, the get should be chal ma'achshav now, right? He died within those 12 months. Harei zeh get. The halacha in this case is. It is a get. In this case, it's the opposite. It is a get. So Gemara says, Mesu, v'hu adil nachala, just like he died. So we should assume also there was a similar onus, like he got sick also, right? It should be a get. So you see, there should be a question, right? You see, there is a tainus onus. The Gemara says, Dilma meis dafgad lo nichal etipol kamayava. Maybe only mace, only if he died, then it's considered a get, because he had in mind that even if I were to die, I'd rather have it be a get because I don't want her to have to face Yibum. But he didn't enter into his mind if he got sick and he wasn't able to come in 12 months that it should be a get. Maybe he doesn't want it to be a get. So where it proves that there was an incident. Someone said, if I don't come in 30 days, I'll have a gita. Again, all these cases involve a t'nai where you're making a gerushin al t'nai. I'm going to explain the chiddush in Enos ben Sion of Ein Onus Begittin, which is how we paskin Ein Onus Begittin, based on the fact that these Gemaras all talk about it tonight. You're not going to want to miss that. So the Gemara says, but a regular case, if you just give a get, there's a different halachas about Onus Begittin. Maybe there would be Onus Begittin. So the Gemara says, paskin Ma'avra, he said, I'm not going to, if I don't come within 30 days, it's a get. He comes on the 30th day, he's running, he wants to get back to his wife. All that's separating him is, he wants to get back to Staten Island. He wants to cross over the ferry, to come from Midtown, from downtown Manhattan. He wants to get to Staten Island. The only way to get there is the ferry. There was no boat. The ferry was on the other side. He couldn't get across. He was telling everybody, look, I came. I'm here. Listen, it's not my fault. The boat's not here. I want to come. It doesn't count, right? You can't claim it's an onus. So therefore, we see, right? Ein onus begittin. You can't claim an onus. It's a valid get. The Gemara says, "Dilma onus the shchiach shiny." It came when they boiled the snuye below asni. Maybe really there is a tainus onus begittin. You could claim an onus and mavatal a get and nullify the get. Here it's different because it's very frequent for the ferry to be on the other side. The ferry goes back and forth. So he should have stipulated that it's only gonna give me a get if I don't come back and the ferry, right? And the ferry is here and I decide not to come back, right? If the ferry is not here, then I have 31 days. He didn't say that, so it's his fault. Ella Rava says, Ein ones begitin, which is how we paskin. There's no tainas onas. Svara denafshek Amar, he says its own reasoning. Mishum tsnuos and mishum prutos. Because there's two types of ladies. Right? There's regular ladies, and there's two types of extreme ladies. Ladies who are very careful in halacha, maybe too careful, and some ladies that are very lenient in halacha. Mishum tsnuos, right? Why? The Amr is to have it yet. If you'll say that an onus works by get, then you can make a tainas onus and muvatal a get, and you say it's not a get, so what's going to happen? On top of Gimel Manal, Zimandula honest, sometimes it's not really going to be a valid type of onus, a valid cause. But Savra the honest, she's going to be machmir on herself. She's going to know it's an onus. She's not going to want to get married. Right? So therefore, we're forced to say, right, onus begit, you don't have to worry about onus, it's a get nonetheless. With Shumprutzos, the Amr is low heavy gita, if you'll say that there is onus begit and it nullifies the get. Zim the honest, maybe it actually will be an onus. The Amr low honest, she's going to make it with herself. She's going to say, no, it's not an onus. Adlo mitzvah, she's going to allow herself to get married. Nimsa get batel. Really, there is a tainas onus. The get should be batel. Nimsa gets batel. Banem amzerim. She's married. She's a married lady, and she's marrying somebody else. She's going to have children with a second husband. Her children are going to be mamzerim. So that the conclusion of today's shiur. The Gemara's next line is actually very important. Let's just read the Gemara's next line because it's relevant to the Ian shiur I'm going to give on this. The Gemara says, "Mika midi the rice will have get, but pishim sulas and pruto shum pruto shrein yeshus alma." The Gemara seemingly implies over here that midoraisa there is a time that onus begit, right? It's a gzeir derabban, tachan derabbanan. They're mavatal the get, and then the Gemara in the next daf is going to explain how they could do that. How could they uproot something? If it really is a valid, it's a valid marriage, right? The get is not a get. How do you uproot the marriage? We'll talk more about that in Ian Ben Sion, the Ian shiur. So that's the line we're just going to leave right now, and I'm going to explain it more in Ian shiur coming up right now. Don't want to miss it.